Hello everyone, RVer Frank here with Kathee and Coco. We are continuing on our road trip in Flair, North Bishop, California. This is a drive through the Owens River Valley on the eastern side of the High Sierra mountain range. This stretch of our journey north on 395 goes through the town of Olancha. I've been traveling out in these parts since I was a kid, exploring and learning more about the history and the pioneers of the Owens River Valley. I like to find locations and the personalities that tell the backstory of how it was back in the day and envision how the picture has changed. So come along, join us, and enjoy the ride ahead. And as we go, I will bring attention to some of those points of interest which lay ahead. Olancha and the surrounding area has an interesting history that is not evident while speeding through. You would not necessarily need to stop here for gas or food because of the newer traveler rest stops along 395 that have caused some of the business to shut down. Future highway alignment improvements today pose a danger to the character of Olancha, which may be the cause of it becoming yet another ghost town for this area. The 2015 Inyo County Environment Impact Report describes 4 road improvement alternatives having more or less impacts to the Olancha south around Grant, starting here, disrupting the rustic Oasis Motel, and depending on which of the 4 alternative routes are chosen, on up to Cartago north of Olancha. This map shows the overall realignment section, where it'll begin and where it'll end. So alternative 1, improvement right down on top of where 395 is today. Alternative 2 will follow the 395 path to a degree, then it'll swing west to avoid ranches. There's an alternative 2A that will swing around the most populated. Alternative 3, which swings way left and will use one of the current 395 lanes as either a north or southbound lane. And 4 will do pretty much the same, except it goes further west. So you'll see that the changes to the area will affect what is left of Olancha and Cartago and the very fragile wetlands that remain. The site of Olancha was inhabited by Panamint Indians prior to the discovery of some rich silver deposits in the Coso Range in the mid-1800s, and the town began to grow because of its location near the bustling mining shipping port of Cartago at Owens Lake, 2 miles to the north. After mining died down, Olancha remained as an agricultural center. Many ranches raised livestock and produce, watered by abundant streams and springs. Imagine that. Ranchers have for more than a century driven cattle and sheep into the Sierra Nevada range, nearby in Menachie Meadows for summer range for their cattle, and large cattle drives still are the norm today. Olancha was long inhabited by Indians living among the verdant meadows on the southwest shore of Owens. The name Olancha is believed to be derived from the nearby Unachie tribe. As the story is told, Michael Huddleston Farley was looking for the lost gunsight lode when he came here in 1860. Back then, any old tall story was enough to send prospectors scattering into any geological nook and cranny. And in this case, the story was that an immigrant crossing Death Valley lost his gunsight and repaired it with local silver ore. Yeah, right. However, it was good enough for Farley and many others, and sure enough, there was silver in these parts. He became a worker at the local silver mining company and decided to build a processing mill at Olancha Creek that flowed into Owens Lake. He left his job in the Coso Mountains and began exploring the Owens River Valley, settling and naming the Olancha Pass. Farley's mill was the first one completed in Owens River Valley and began operating in 1862. The following year, he had already expanded the mill to include 8 stamp mills, 5 blending pans, a blacksmith shop, and a sawmill at the crossroads to Death Valley. Local Panamint Indians were not impressed with the intrusion into their ancestral homeland, and Farley's good fortune did not last long because of an Indian uprising that occurred throughout the valley during the 1860s. The conflict between the Native Americans and white settlers in this area culminated in burning down his mill, and Farley did not rebuild. We are coming to Farley's Olancha Mill, identified today as California Registered Historical Landmark number 796. The actual mill no longer exists and is located on Olancha Creek about 1 mile west of this marker, which is located on Highway 395 at Fall Road. Today, low-rise and crumbling brick and stone walls are the only remnants of the former stamp mill. Operations at Olancha continued as a stagecoach station. The town began to get increased business as a stage stop for supplies en route from LA to Cerro Gordo. Silver bullion from Cerro Gordo was ferried across Owens Lake, before it dried up, to Cartago, a few miles north of Olancha. The Southern Pacific Railroad extended a line into town in 1910. The line was used until 1982. The town also was used as a supply depot while work progressed on the LA Aqueduct, a huge project that robbed Owens Lake of its water to supply the growing Southern California metropolis. Today, the Olancha of Farley's day is represented in the decay motels and restaurants. We are approaching what is left of downtown Olancha. In the overhead map, you will see the various cafes, motel, the post office, and gas station. It is interesting to see the decay during a span of over 100 years. As we approach, on the east side is the Olancha Post Office store in 1920 and the local children. The post office opened September 23, 1870, and has remained open ever since. Around 1920 is the gas station next to the Callaway's Cafe at the Death Valley turn to the east. Then later the Chevron gas station and Woody Raper Cafe. Today you see the restaurant's decaying foundation covered in sagebrush. In this shot, looking down 395 to the south, you will see on the left the Callaway restaurant, gas station, and post office in 1940, and as it appears today. Across 395 west is the Olancha Cafe in 1934, offering rooms and cabins. The cement pad with the land sea container marks the spot today. The Olancha Oasis in 1920, as the sign says, for sportsmen, for travelers. Later renamed the Callaway Motel, crumbling ruins and eventually bulldozed. Up ahead on the left is the Ranch House Cafe that is named today. It was built in 1939 and formerly named Farmhouse Cafe. Notice the rock wall and no trees. Then in 1944, renamed Dick's Cafe, they added a gas station. And today, they added a picket fence. Trees are mature now, but the gas station's gone. The inside of the cafe reflects the original structure, and you will see mounted ducks and a stuffed black bear that give the cafe an authentic atmosphere. As we move on through town, imagine when those infamous visitors to Olancha, Charles Manson and his followers, who spent time nearby in the late 1960s at the Barker Ranch, famous for being their hideout, located in a rock and boulder-filled valley on the way east to Death Valley in the Panamint Range, and later raided by law enforcement for trespassing. The story that is told is on August 11, 1969, Manson family members Charles Tex Watson and Diane Snake Lake returned to Olancha 2 days after Watson had stabbed Sharon Tate to death. Here, Watson bought a newspaper, reveling that it was still a mystery who committed the Manson murder. Watson confessed to Lake, "I killed her. Charlie ordered me to do so. It was fun." This fact was witness testimony by Lake during the Watson trial in 1971. After complaints on Watson from the Olancha community for swimming nude in the local river pond, the two of them left Olancha for the final Manson hideout at Barker Ranch, but not before more reign of terror Watson was suspected of. I have more to tell about the little-known killings in the Olancha area at the Hunham Ranch and on the way to Barker Ranch that Charles Manson and his followers are suspected of but never charged. Also more about the relationship to the Spawn Ranch and of course the Barker Ranch, where the Charles Manson family visited this valley left behind the rumored Manson mysteries of Inyo County. So for those of you that made it to the end of this video, we want to thank you for watching and hope you found it interesting. Because there's so much more to tell, this will be part 1 with part 2 to follow. Eventually we'll make it to Bishop. We have a ways to go yet, with more interesting places and stories ahead to share along the way. So for now we'll be leaving you and looking forward to seeing you soon. Travel safe out there.